Agnetha's album My Coloring Book was her big return to the public in 17 years and became not only one of Agnetha's most personal projects, but is one of the most celebrated and most loved albums for many fans. So because it has such a special meaning, I want to celebrate this album today by doing something special. We will trace back the creation and story, and for our track by track, I will read Agnetha's very own personal comments for each song. All of that will give us a new perspective and understanding with how much devotion the album was created and why it is so special for fans and for the artist herself, Agnetha Fältskog. The year is 1962. Agnetha Fältskog lies on the bed in her room in Jönköping. She is 12 years old. A yellow portable record player with built-in speakers plays. When she's not lying on the bed listening to music, she sits in front of the mirror miming and humming along with Connie or one of her other idols. This is how the press release started to introduce us to Agnetha's new album My Coloring Book in 2004. It was the first time since 1987 that Agnetha came back with new music. In the meantime, she spent her life in a period which she called the silent years. In an interview, she said, "I need silence. I get stressed by noise. I can be disturbed by the sound of a plane flying above." But My Coloring Book didn't come out of nowhere. Agnetha had been working on the project for 4 years, starting in the year 2000. She was listening to thousands of songs from the 60s, read books, studied old hit lists, and had a lot of fun. With the eagerness and ambition of a historical researcher, she has been digging in the archives of popular music and searched for songs that opened the world to a teenage girl growing up in Sweden. Agnetha said, "At first I searched in my own record collection, but I also went to a record store in Hässelby that specializes in music from the 60s. There I nearly got a fever. It started to vibrate in me when I was browsing through records by Petula Clark, Cilla Black, Dusty Springfield, and of course Connie. I bought so much there." One of the most intriguing aspects to me was how much this project is almost like a reflection between the way Agnetha experiences music as a fan herself and the way that fans of Agnetha and ABBA experience very similar feelings. Not only the fact that she was miming to her favorite artists in front of the mirror, but that she also experienced an important evolution of popular music. My own prime motivation has been the love for songs from the 50s and 60s, where there are very, very strong melodies and poignant lyrics. Many recordings from the time are fantastic. I feel very happy that I was so young when everything exploded in popular music. I think we can say the very same with our experience of ABBA, and how much the world of pop music changed because of that. On top of that, the music and its influence is always front and center. Agnetha said, "For me, my teens were very much about music, in me and around me. If I wasn't writing my own, I listened to music or was singing with a dance orchestra. When I look back, I see what a deep impression all of this left on me. The gratitude towards the artists, the songs, and all that they've given me. The impressions I've got without really thinking about it, being aware of it. Now I understand when I listen to these artists, all the work that's behind these seemingly simple songs. It was because of this that I learned to sing in English. That's where I laid the foundation." Again, for me personally, the songs and music of ABBA is where I learned English, and I know that was the case for many others as well. It was a big foundation. So these reflections of Agnetha and her experience with music, and us and our experience, are fascinating. And with this album, Agnetha literally acts, like she said, as an intermediary of her experiences with these songs and artists. It's a tribute to them and what they've given me. This tribute is not only personal, but very artistic, and Agnetha herself was heavily involved with the selection of songs and in many creative aspects of the album. First of all, My Coloring Book is not simply a collection of best of greatest hits standards. There are some famous and often recorded songs, but there are also songs which are distinctive for one original artist and songs which are actually quite rare, hidden gems if you will. Agnetha said, "I didn't only want very famous songs. It would have been a little too easy to pick a bunch of chart toppers. I've chosen the songs I felt for the most, and it became quite a few. I had about 50 or 60 songs that I could see myself doing. Then we tried a little more than 20 songs, and now there are 13 left." Agnetha pointed out that the arrangements and production are done with respect and reverence for the originals, but there are slight tweaks in some lyrics, in the way of her singing, and even some new artistic instrumental sections, all of which I think is a special indication for the passion and dedication to create Agnetha's My Coloring Book.
I think it's personal because I choose the songs for such a long time. And that was really difficult because I chose from so many. And it's a lot of good music from that period of time. So all these songs have meant so much to me and is so deep in my heart and in my soul. So it just has to be personal.
Secondly, despite being an album with cover versions, it's even more remarkable how distinctive and original it turned out to be, proof of her voice and for how much artistry there is in My Coloring Book. Agnetha said, "We wanted to work without stress, without pressure. Hopefully it can be heard on the record that it is a calm, secure and warm atmosphere surrounding the recordings. We have recorded it through my production company, so we have not worked with a record company until the end." The work that went into My Coloring Book is one of the longest periods that Agnetha has ever worked on for one of her solo albums. The reason again reflects her personality and in turn colors the album itself.
I try to do it in my way and in a tempo that suits me well. And I think we have done the recording during a long period, and that is why we didn't want to have any stress into it. And I hope you can hear that it's a very relaxed feeling in it, in all the songs. I hope it comes out.
In the press release, the album was described as an acoustic set featuring a complete orchestra. It was recorded at the legendary Atlantis Studios in Stockholm, which was an important studio in ABBA's career as well, when it was called Metronome. My Coloring Book even features ABBA's important guitarist Lasse Welander, as well as Björn and Agnetha's daughter Linda on backing vocals. On top of that, even ABBA's sound engineer Michael B. Dretoff initially worked on the project. He worked with Agnetha several times before on her solo albums. Unfortunately, he became seriously ill with a stroke, so it was difficult and not possible to continue to work on this album. Eventually, My Coloring Book was produced by Agnetha herself with Dan Strömquist and Anders Neglin. I had the idea for the production, the artistic vision in general, how to weave it all together and how I wanted it to sound. So, as this album has so much personality and artistic vision, let's go through every song track by track by highlighting Agnetha's very own personal statements and inspirations for each song. The opening song, the album's title, My Coloring Book, goes back 40 years from 2004 to 1964 to the debut album by English singer Dusty Springfield, who was known for her distinctive mezzo-soprano sound. Dusty Springfield is a big favorite, I really like her. Perry Como has done this as well, but then with slightly different lyrics. The song opens with the lyrics, "For those who fancy coloring books, and lots of people do, here's a new one for you." There she is, after 17 years of silence, singing to us again. I think there couldn't be any better introduction. This is a perfect opening track, and a perfect title for the album. Listen to Agnetha's thoughts.
My Coloring Book is the main title of the CD because I love that song, and the story is very nice. And also suddenly I got an idea, why not call the album My Coloring Book, because it was just an idea, and I think it has a bit to do with your own fantasy. You can kind of color the songs in different colors.
When You Walk in the Room was the second single from the album. It goes back to American singer-songwriter Jackie D. Shannon, who wrote it herself and recorded it in 1963, when Agnetha was 13 years old. The original song was produced with the wall of sound method of Phil Spector. It's fun with an up-tempo song. I've been wondering if the album is too tragic, if it's too much heart and pain, but I have a disposition for that, always had. Today I can give meaning to the lyrics for such songs in a different way. So this seems to be like a happy song, one of the more uplifting ones from the album, but if you look and listen carefully, it's not really a happy song. Agnetha also released 8 remix versions of her recording. The track is followed by one of the most important songs from the album. If I Thought You'd Ever Change Your Mind was the lead single released 1 week before the album came out. It reached number 2 in Sweden and by that time became Agnetha's highest charting single in the UK since 1983 on number 11. The song brings us to 1969, when Agnetha was already established as a singer herself, and when English singer Cilla released her version of this song. Agnetha said, "We chose this one as a single because it's representative of the complete collection. It stood out a little, and I think it's a very beautiful song. It is ballads like this that I like and that stick with me, and maybe it's the kind of songs that I can interpret the very best." Of this song, Agnetha also released 5 remix versions. The next track, Sealed with a Kiss, goes back to 12-year-old Agnetha in 1962, when American pop singer Brian Hyland released his version of the song. It's the kind of song that sits really deep inside me. It feels like I've been living with it all my life. Personally, I love the deep melancholic atmosphere in this recording. It's gonna be a cold, lonely summer. I'll see you in the sunlight. Love Me With All Your Heart, 1965. This is an example of how we worked with the songs. Petula Clark has a verse in Spanish in the song, and I wanted to keep that. I don't speak Spanish, even if I have sung some in Spanish with ABBA. Then we had Ana Martinez with us in the studio. Now I had a Spanish interpreter, so that the part really should be correct. There are many ears out there listening, and it's important that I don't sing wrong. Fly Me to the Moon is another personal favorite of mine, and turned out to be crucial for the soundscape and identity of the entire project. Agnetha said, "I've been wanting to record the songs with complete respect for the originals, that is the version by the artist I first heard the song by. Fly Me to the Moon I heard by Doris Day, and this very song is important to the whole album. Here is a sound that I like, lots of strings. I played it early and said that I want this character on what we do." The album continues with another personal favorite of mine, the reflective spoken word Past, Present and Future, inspired by American girl group the Shangri-Las. This is a fun thing, one I had forgotten when I started my search for songs. It surfaced on a collection album with girl groups, and as soon as I heard it, I got a special feeling in my body. It's very original, and I remembered how much I liked it when I heard it by the Shangri-Las in the 1960s. It took a while before we could do it the right way, so that it became credible. It's one thing to sing, but a totally different thing to talk through a song. Past, Present and Future was described as dealing with teenage angst, heartbreak, and being hurt and angsty, not wanting anyone near you. The next song, A Fool Am I, was also originally released in 1966, the second song on the album from Cilla. Agnetha said, "There are very special arrangements on her songs, a little like the Beatles, since George Martin produced her. I got stuck on this one because it's so explosive and dramatic." I Can't Reach Your Heart, 1963. For me, it's hard to choose one Connie Francis song. Her ballads are as good as they get. It turned out to be this one. Track 10 is the one odd and fascinating peculiarity in this collection. Sometimes When I'm Dreaming doesn't go back to the 60s, but was recorded in 1984. That means if this song has any meaning for Agnetha, then not from her teenage years, but from the mid-80s. She said, "At first I thought Art Garfunkel had composed this himself, but it's written by an English composer, Mike Bett. Good lyrics, beautiful. It feels incredibly strong to me." Personally, I am not only a fan of Mike Batt's songwriting, but a huge fan of Art Garfunkel. Agnetha's recording is outstanding and is a big favorite of mine. There are also 2 remix versions of her recording. The final 3 tracks of this album are like a goodbye suite to me, a tale of lost love, wondering where to go now. The final 2 songs are even linked together sonically by segueing into each other. The End of the World was recorded in 1963 by American singer-songwriter Skeeter Davis. She achieved her biggest success with this song, a country pop crossover. Agnetha has her own experience of the song. I had sung it with the dance orchestra I was in during the 60s, a song with which you experienced tragic love stories in the teens. Remember Me from British pop singer Sandie Shaw, 1968. Agnetha said, "Sandie Shaw, the barefoot singer, may be best known for Puppet on a String. She has such a special way of singing, and she's one of my many role models." The final song, What Now My Love, in this arrangement and singing, leaves a lasting impact and closes Agnetha's coloring book as effective as it was opened. Agnetha said, "This will be the last song on the album. It's desperate and tragic, a song that exists in many different versions. I heard it first by Petula Clark." My coloring book also saw the return of Agnetha to music video, stepping into different characters and acting out the songs. To promote the album, she gave rare interviews as well as a very open conversation in a unique 30-minute documentary simply called Agnetha. The album sold 500,000 copies worldwide and became a top 10 hit in European countries. In the first week of release, it sold 64,000 copies in Sweden and went to number 1. In the UK, it reached number 12 and went silver for sales over 60,000. In the same year, Agnetha also released a box set compiling all of her Swedish solo albums from the period before ABBA. In 2004, ABBA themselves celebrated 30 years. By then, the musical Mamma Mia was running for 5 years and continued to be a phenomenal success. Just 1 year later, it had its premiere in Sweden, where all 4 members of ABBA appeared. However, they did not appear together. As we now know, it would take a few more years until ABBA gradually came together again and eventually reunited in music. My coloring book may have been an important piece of the puzzle, with Agnetha returning to music after almost 2 decades. It certainly became one of the most important projects in her solo career, capturing a crucial time in her life, both by going back to her youth in the 60s and by recapturing that spirit at the age of 50. For me, it's an intriguing collection of songs, a remarkably classic and timeless sound, and distinctive by making it all her very own. Agnetha's voice is at the very top, with some of her best vocal performances. Warm and tender, vulnerable and strong at the same time, highlighting the storyteller she is, of heartbreak and hope. So I want to know, what do you think of my coloring book? What was your experience? Which are your favorite songs? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this special, documenting the inspiration and history for Agnetha's comeback album. Alright, until then, hey do!